Riders, welcome back to Sam's Bikes, where you know we only talk e-bikes, and this is the second episode of my dream build. We are taking a base Levo with a 500 watt battery and we are taking it up to race spec. And today we are looking at suspension and why I put it at the top of my list when upgrading your e-bike. And today we're going to look at what options you have when upgrading your suspension, what I like, what to look for when buying it because it is kind of specific, and also at the end, how to fit it. And riders, a bit of warning, I'm not the best mechanic. And before we crack on, a massive shout out to our sponsors, Schwalbe, Insta360 and Quadlock. I love them all, amazing products. And to celebrate hitting 30,000 subscribers, well, we're not there yet, but we almost are. We are giving away loads of loot. We have Schwalbe tires, Insta360 camera, quad locks, specialized tires and hat, giant full riding kit with helmet, jersey, shorts, Industry 9 stem, gyro insurgent downhill helmet, a steady rack for your mountain bike, and loads more. So we are giving away over 3,000 euros of loot. Riders, get involved. So how do you enter? Well, it's super simple. All you need to do is subscribe to Sam's Bikes, 1, like this video 2, and comment on this video what is your favorite electric mountain bike for 2022. And also, riders, it's a lot of loot, so if you want to get involved even more, you can enter again. You can go back to the start video where I released my new bike, which you'll see here, and also turn on those notifications because the next video is going to be brakes or wheels, not sure, waiting on parts. And you can actually enter on that video too. So get involved and good luck. And now onto the unveiling of the new suspension. I cannot wait to show you. But first, let's have a look at what is stock on the Levo Gen 3 base model. It's a RockShox 35s and a RockShox Deluxe Select R. This is basic suspension, but at the same time, it is completely fine. But you know at Sam's Bikes, we love to do the upgrades because we want to push these bikes as hard as possible. So what should we expect from upgrading our suspension? I like to say your hands are going to be buying you beers for days because it's just softer on your hand. It's plusher. When you're going all the chudder and the chunder and big rocks, you just got more smoother movement. You also, if you're a jumper, I like to jump, you get more adjustments for that bottom out. They're just more advanced suspension. Okay, riders, are we ready? Let's go for the unveil. There we go. We have gone high-end suspension from EXT in Italy. First up, we have the E-Storia, and this is an absolutely beautiful coil shock. Yeah, I've gone coil. I haven't done that much testing on coil, but I absolutely love the E-Storia I had on the VMG Typhon a couple of weeks ago. As you'll see here, I have a few coils to do more testing. And with the forks, we've gone the ERX version 2, and these look amazing. So how good do they look, riders? I cannot wait to put these on the bike. So the lovely wife Bea on the camera told me it looked a bit messy, so we've tidied that up. Have a look at this stuff. How good does it look? So let's talk about why I went the EXT suspension. Well, first up, I had the EXT E-Storia shock on the VMG Typhon. Now, if you haven't watched that review, clicks up here or here for that video, but I was blown away by that suspension and I don't have a benchmark to put it across. So like, I know the suspension was good, but I'm not sure if it was just the coil or the bike or combined. So as you know, I have done a lot of testing, about 3,000 Ks on the S-Works Levo Gen 3 with the X2. So I wanted to do some benchmark testing with this against air. And also, I get a lot of comments, people saying that if I put a coil on my Levo Gen 3, it's gonna void warranty. That is definitely incorrect. What you need to look for, you need to look for a stronger e-bike specific coil, which this is. It also has a hydraulic bottom out, which I haven't done much playing with yet, but I really look forward to doing a lot of testing on this setup. So when researching the forks that I wanted to put on my dream build, I had a look at the EXTs, and what I liked about these is, first of all, on the crown here, we'll do a close up, where you actually attach the headset, so where all the force comes through, it's actually a part of the crown. So riders, if you're long-term riders, you would have had creaky forks. And that's sometimes from the steerer coming a little bit loose to the crown. So I don't think you're gonna get that with these. And also, we have 2 air chambers in here, do a close up as well. And so what that's gonna do is, first of all, every air fork has 1 chamber, and a lot of the forks actually get progression with tokens. So this is not exactly progression. So the first air chamber will get us sitting up in the travel, and the second one is gonna help us get sort of really that mid-travel to bottom out, to about adjust that, fine tune that. I love that. And also, if you saw the Mondraker video I did, they had a similar system on the Ollens, but they had the valve at the bottom of the forks, which I thought was really exposed. So I really like it at the top here. So quickly, what are the other options on the market if you're upgrading your suspension? Well, all we need to do is look over to the World Cup and the EWS. RockShox, Fox, and Ollens are dominating the market. And you can't go wrong with any of them. They are high-end suspension and you can get them set up perfectly. EXT are making waves in the e-bike industry. And as a bike reviewer and a bike tester, I just wanted to try it. And I think, the forks look great. But riders, come on, how good does that look? This is a beautiful looking coil shock. Okay, let's say you've decided to upgrade your suspension. Now, what specific things do you need to understand when ordering your suspension? So first off, we're upgrading the Levo Gen 3, which has 160 mils of travel. And riders, I wouldn't be going 170. You're gonna avoid your warranty. And also, I think 170 puts the bike up a bit too much for climbing. And then we wanna look at the hub spacing and axle width. And this is 15 by 10, and that's pretty standard in 2022. But if you're not sure, you can go onto the website where you bought your bike or check the wheels you have, and the 15 is the axle width and the 110 is the width of the hub. And then we go into fork offset. And this is kind of harder to explain, but it is how far the axle comes away from the fork. Standard is 44. And again, I would go onto the manufacturer's website, see what forks you have, and get the same offset. And another tip when buying those forks, make sure they're e-bike compatible or e-bike specific, because the e-bike forks, we've got more weight going through it. Sometimes on specific forks, we have stronger crowns and steerers and also a different tune. And if you're looking at saving a little bit of money and going secondhand, I would say ask the owner the last time it was serviced, because that's going to cost you about 100 or 150 euros to get a service. So you might not be saving that much. And also make sure you measure the steerer here, that it fits your bike, because if it's cut too short, it's not going to work. Now going on to the rear shock. And riders, all shocks are different sizes. So don't go online and find yourself a deal and order it, because you need to check the size. So the size of the rear Levo shock is 55 by 10. 55 is the stroke length and 210 is the eye to eye. And again, if you're not sure of the shock size, go onto the manufacturer's website and you'll be able to find it there. And then we have coil rate. So that's the rate of the spring, and that works on how heavy you are. And if you don't know how to work that out, TF Tuned in the UK have a really good coil calculator. I'll link it in the show notes. I'm going to be starting with a 525 coil because I like a pretty firm ride, but I also have a 500 and a 475, and I'll be doing loads of testing. And lucky last is bushings. And this is hardware for your shock to fit your frame. And these little things have ruined a couple of my builds. I'm not that good at getting that right. And my tip would be, and it's what I do, I would first contact the manufacturer that you're buying the suspension from. Secondly, go onto the Facebook EMTB forums and ask there. Absolute legends there, riders. And I ask quite a few questions and I get answers very quickly. Or thirdly, contact Richard Butters at Raceco Cycles. This guy is an absolute legend. He is a walking encyclopedia for e-bikes, and he also builds epic Levo dream builds. Okay, so now we're going on to fit the suspension, and I've got heaps of tools here. You might not need all of these, but you're better to have them than not have them. So first off, got some rags, you got some cleaning alcohol, paper towel, some pretty standard grease, rubber mallet, a T25 and a multi-T, a couple of screwdrivers, Allen key set, EXT Extoria. This is a guide when you're cutting the steerer, and a hacksaw. Now, we've already cut the steerer, but you definitely will need that. And also, this is the star that goes into the forks. I think that's what it's called. And there's actually a special tool to mount that. You don't need that as well. There are some ghetto hacks to do that. And you definitely don't need the Park Tool mat or these Park Tool bowls, but they're new. Park Tool's not a sponsor. But I like to keep really clean and tidy when I work. Keep all the bolts in one place. And if you can, when you're taking the headset apart, keep all the bolts in order and the spacers so you know how to put it back together. I do have these fancy Allen keys, but the littler ones will work. And it's always good to have them as well because sometimes there's tight spaces. Okay, so now we're going to take the shock off. So that's a 6mm Allen key. So we're going to put this Allen key in one of our Park Tool bowls. We're going to get another 6, but we're going to get a smaller 6 because it's a bit tight in this space here. So we're going to take this off as well. I also want to mention, riders, I'm using a feedback bike stand, which is awesome. I think Iago recommended me this. And when you're working on your e-bike, take the battery out. And because we're going to be changing the forks, we've taken the front wheel off. Okay, so shock is out. We're going to put the shock over here. We're also going to keep this bolt with the other one in a safe spot. You don't want to lose those bolts. Okay, so now we're ready to fit the EXT Extoria. So we grab the shock with the bushings and we grab the short bolt. And we quite simply go into the linkage at the back, under, and just slide that bolt in. And you've got to move it around just a little bit because there is a bit of play. We don't want to tighten this up straight away. We want a bit of play so we can line up the other top bolt here. Okay, so now we're ready to put in the secondary bolt, which is the longer bolt. We grab that, grab the 6mm, and this always works better with 2 people. So Bear, if you can come in and give me a hand. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to line up both eyes of the shock and the frame. So babe, if you can just push the back wheel a little bit, just go back a little bit and a little bit more, back a little bit more, up, 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 there. And so now that's lined up and you just slowly just push that in, then you get your 6mm and you tighten that up. So riders, I don't know exactly the Newton meters. I will put it in the show notes. Then we get our smaller Allen key because this is quite tight here as well, but I will put those numbers in the show notes. Thank you, Bear, lovely camera lady. And now the suspension, the coil is set. And we just want to wind this back and just get a little bit of preload on it. And you want to do this in a bike stand. And this is not going to be a suspension setup video, but riders, let me know in the comments if you want to see that and I'll do that. Okay, so coil is done. So now we're moving on to the forks and we're going to take the brakes off because we're going to continue doing the dream build. We don't need these brakes. So first off, we are going to loosen off with, I think it's a 2 or a 3, 2.5 Allen key. We're going to loosen off the forks here, the brake cable, and that bolt does not come out. Make sure that doesn't come out. If it does come out, keep it in a safe place. Now we're going to go down with a 5mm Allen key and loosen off the caliper. We're going to make sure we keep those bolts in your Park Tool little bowl there and the spacers. So we have the caliper loose. Now we're going to get the T25 and we're going to take off the brake lever. Now riders, if you're not going to be changing brakes, you do not need to do this part. Now we're going to loosen off the top cap of the forks. So it comes out like that. We're going to put that in the Park Tool bowl. And then I believe we need a 5mm Allen key and we're going to go in and loosen off the stem. Now when you're loosening off the stem, make sure you hold the forks because they will just slide out. So one's done. Second one is done. So the forks are about to come straight out. So we will take the handlebars off. And we'll grab our spacers and just slide the forks out. It's that simple. Forks are out. So now we've got the forks here. We have one bearing, which we're going to take out, put on a bit of paper. And we have, this is really important, this is the lower part of the headset. So we need to take that out. So we're going to grab our screwdriver, and there is a little wedge here right in between the back of the forks, and you should be able to just shimmy it out very easily. It's not that tight. So we just want to take that out, get that off. You want to put that as well on your paper towel. So now these forks are going to go in storage as spares, or you might be able to sell them on eBay or something like that. And now on to installing the new forks. The first thing we want to do is install the star nut. So we're going to need the star nut tool, and a hammer. There is a ghetto way of doing this where you just use the bolt that goes into the star nut and just gently hammer it down. You want to be very careful not to twist it. I'd recommend the tool. It's about 15 euros, definitely worth having the right tools. Okay, so we are going to get the star nut here, and we're going to tighten that on to the tool here. And then we're going to put that in there like so, and then grab the other part of the tool and slide it over the steerer. Then you want to get your mallet and quite simply just hit it down quite firm. As I said, you want to be on a rubber mat or some rubber ground or something so you don't damage the lowers of your forks. And we're just going to hit it. And you can see there, it hasn't quite finished. So we just need to hit it a little bit more. It should make a different sound or feel like you're connecting metal on metal. There you go. The difference in sound, did you hear that, riders? Bet I did. All right, so we have that now. And then secondly, we want to go to our paper towel and we want to grab the lower of the headset. And we want to put that straight on here. We just want to push it down. Shouldn't be that hard to get on. And it goes, you want to make sure it goes all the way to the bottom, which it has. Now, normally I would take the whole headset apart, clean it with a bit of alcohol, and then re-grease it. Because this is a brand new bike, all we're going to do is get a little bit of grease here, go around here, and then put the bearings back in, like so. So now the bottom headset is on, the bottom bearing is greased and on. We're just gonna quite simply go back with our forks, get that up like so, get the headset in there, and we're gonna get one spacer, our stem back on. We're gonna put the stem on, and riders, when you're doing this, make sure you leave at least a couple of mil between the top of the stem and the steerer, because what the whole headset's doing is it's pulling it together. And if you don't have enough space there, it's going to be metal on metal and you'll have a little bit of movement in your headset. And now we get the top cap and we just screw that on with our hands, and we are still holding the forks underneath so they don't fall out. So we're just going to tighten that up. So the front forks are almost set up now. We just need to tighten up that headset. But this would be the time that you want to re-put on that caliper and set your brakes. We're also going to put on that front wheel because we want to take the bike off the stand to finally set up the headset, because we want the weight of the bike on the headset so it will pull it all together. And it is a bit of a fine art, so let's do that. Okay riders, we're on to the final step. I hope you're still with me. So now the bike's on the ground, front wheel's back on obviously. And now this is the point where we're going to tighten up and do that fine tuning on the headset. So we want to, I personally like to do it a little bit tighter than you would think, because we've got fresh grease in there. So what I like to do is I like to just have a little bit of friction when you're turning that, just a little bit. And it is a game of millimeters, because if you go just like a little bit more, it's going to be over tight. So you have to play around with that. And what I normally do is I get it close here, and then when I go out for the shakedown ride, I get it perfect. And that's the same with screwing up the bars. I always find that easier when I'm out on that shakedown ride to go up against a tree and just do that after I reset the headset, because it always needs a bit of fine tuning. Anyway, the headset is set here. That's pretty straight. And then we want to put 6 Newton meters of torque on these pinch bolts. So there you have it, riders. New suspension, and I'd have to say it looks bloody awesome. What do you think, riders? Let me know in the comments what suspension you would have put on. For me, I just find this really interesting and I love testing new stuff. Anyway, riders, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you haven't entered the epic competition, please do so. Share it with like-minded people. It does mean a lot. And you know it, if you haven't subscribed to Sam's Bikes, please do so. Share it with friends as well. And stay safe out there. And we're going to see you next time.